Yeah. What it do, snackers and snackettes? It's your boy Gage, Sin and Jokes here in the building. Um, are y'all having trouble keeping up on who goes in what rectangle and where that rectangle is, y'all? We bounce around, just so you know.
We switch it up every time for you.
We
Keep you
bounce
on your
around.
toes.
Um, we are here to watch and react live to the Bandai Namco game showcase for E3. We'll see what it turns out to be, I suppose.
Mhm.
Um, very quickly.
Yeah.
So, y'all stay tuned, gentlemen. Expectations?
Uh, I'm hoping, for a lot from Bandai Namco. They usually give us all our anime kind of base stuff. So I have high hopes. But the way E3 has been going, it has slowly begun to shrink. Uh, like me and Joke say, we're hoping that we can get a Xenoverse 3. So fingers crossed that we get that announcement. Um, I think it's probably overdue for a Naruto game. Well, how long
Is
ago
it?
was Yeah, it was a while for when Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 came out.
Well, Ninja Star. They've been relying heavily on the Shinobi
Strikers.
Striker jump,
Yeah.
and I know they've been dropping constant updates into that. So it wouldn't surprise me if we do see some extra DLC or something being. I think they just actually released something for it. So if anything, they'll probably rehash it. I'm guessing to say that it's out there for it, but
I agree.
I don't know. I want to have high hopes, but the fact that Bandai Namco themselves really haven't promoted their own stream about announcements kind of worries me that there probably isn't going to be anything really new. It's just going to all be kind of talking about the things that are out, like Kakarot with the latest, the Trunks DLC, probably Shinobi Strikers getting the DLC. Scarlet Nexus obviously is probably going. I feel like it's going to take up like half
I
the
don't want to see
presentation.
Scarlet Nexus. It drops next week. We
I
don't
feel like they're going to
need
take
it.
the whole half of it just to talk about it, even though it's here. But
I mean, unless they actually say it's coming to Game Pass,
now that
which
they
was
do
the
that,
rumor. Um, so I would be here to hear them say that.
I'm cool
I
with
would
that.
I would accept that. What's the dream? I guess anime announcement for y'all. Like, they already do One Piece, and they already, you know what I mean? Like all the stuff they already do. Is there something that is deserving, or you're what? You know what I mean? Like they do all the main My Hero and like all that stuff. They already do all of that. Is there something?
I want to see the new Demon Slayer game being
That's
worked
what I was
on.
going to say. That's
I want
probably the
to.
only thing.
I want to see that. They've teased
Okay.
like a little image of it, but like nothing really. So I would love to see a trailer for
Okay.
that.
Probably time for
Uh,
some good gameplay from it. And I
yeah.
know the biggest thing they had announced coming from it was the fact that it's going to be the first one in a while that the game is going to have both the dub track and the sub track on it, so you can actually play it either way. And I think that's huge,
Mm-hmm.
especially for on the west, like on the west side where a lot of people don't like. They want to watch it dubbed and don't want to do sub. I think this is huge for a game like that because typically, like even with the Naruto games now, like they don't even bother anymore. Just throw the subs in, call it a day.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm
Yeah.
still trying to find out where they're going
Yeah.
to send this to, cause
I don't know if there's much else that I'm like.
I would like to get an announcement of a new One Piece game, but I don't see it just yet. The last one came out 2019. I feel like they'll let it breathe a little more before they drop
Yeah, I
something
was gonna
new.
say it seems like it might be a little soon
Yeah.
unless it's some sort of a spinoff,
Yeah. So
joining something like that. What was the last one? World Seeker.
yeah, 2019.
So
Yeah.
could be a little soon for that. And is there anything else that
Agree.
like are
They do
there
have
some
this
surprises left?
thinking.
probably announce. You know what, fighters. I think we just got the last character of the last pack, which was Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. So it wouldn't surprise me if they probably announce another DLC pack, another season
Okay.
pass, or whatever they're going to do for it. Because fighters is going to go for a good while. I don't think we're going to see a two of that for for a very long time. So I think they'll just continuously add more characters into it. So probably something along the lines of that as well too.
Okay.
Bandai Namco's Tekken too, right? Am I?
So I'm going to grab this because it looks
Yeah,
like
I
Bandai
mean,
Namco
yeah.
isn't going live on their own channels, but it looks like they're live now on actual E3's platform. So I'm just going to
That
put
makes
that in
sense.
here because I don't know what they're. And we'll see in a second. This looks like this is probably something, but I can't quite tell.
Looking for what?
And Dark Anthologies joint.
Their lights.
That's Bandai Namco.
Snuffed out.
No,
Okay, then
those
this
are
is just something. So we'll leave this one. We'll just leave it in the dark for right now until because it's definitely 2 minutes after. So
I mean, listen. If Bandai Namco didn't have a show, I'd be okay.
no, House of Ashes. That joint is Bandai Namco. You're lying to me. This is theirs.
it looks
most
just
certainly
like the
there.
what's the name joint.
So yeah, so we're in the right spot.
No, that's it. That's what it's called. House of Ashes, Dark Anthology.
We're here at Supermassive to
Isn't that
talk
what he-
about the next game in the Dark Pictures anthology, House of Ashes. And I'm joined by exec producer Dan. How you doing?
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Right,
Really cool.
so let's start at the very start. We're going to be talking about House of Ashes for most of the interview, but for those that don't know, tell us about the Dark Pictures anthology.
The Dark Pictures is a series of narrative, story-driven, branching horror stories. Each one is standalone. They each tell a different story, completely separated from the others, but within the same universe, so there is connection between them all. House of Ashes is set at the end of the Iraq War in 2003, with links 4,000 years ago that set the story up.
So tell us more about the theme and themes, I suppose, within House of Ashes.
It starts off with a military unit. They've got some new technology that can look for weapons of mass destruction underground. They think they've identified something in the
That's right. The
Zagros
thing I
Mountains
found
in
most
Iraq.
interesting about
And
this is
then, as
like
part of
when
that,
the story
they come into
takes place
conflict
and
with
where.
the Iraqi unit. There's a pitched firefight, and then the two groups are plunged underground. There's an earthquake of some sort, and it's revealed that there's a hidden temple underground. These big, massive structures, but these different groups, they're all separated. Radio contact is lost, and they're submerged in this black darkness.
Hey, Frosty.
Howdy.
And then they're going to start hearing things and seeing things, and people are going to start disappearing.
Yoink!
I know, really.
So this time it's
Why
Why
would
would somebody gets
All
gets
of the Dark
taken
Pictures games, they all pull
by something invisible?
from
Is it
real
always
life,
like
history,
that? The
from
most
facts.
powerful
What's
from the
case
center,
with,
from the lower part of your spine yank you could ever get, bro.
So we love looking at and reading myths and legends and stories and doing our research, and we know our fans love it as well because there's something that they can link into afterwards, and I love doing that when I'm playing games or watching movies myself. So this one's set 4,000 years ago, the Akkadian Empire, and this terrible evil that happened. We had this self-proclaimed god king, Naram Sin, and he essentially cursed his people. He sacked this temple and brought famine and devastation to his own people. And so a lot of the history is lost, but we've done a lot of research about it, and then we had a lot of happy accidents that linked into the story we wanted to
I
tell.
was aware that
And
the
fun
Man
thing
on
for us
Dan
is
joint was
we get to
being,
do
I
our
guess,
own take
published
and we
by
get to twist
Bandai
it,
Namco?
and obviously we've made our own truth from it.
Yes, so.
At the end of the sneak peek, the trailer, we saw monsters. Tell us a bit more about what's going on there.
The military unit that you're playing as, they don't really know what they're coming up against. They're not human, they're bigger, they're larger, they're faster. The team aren't going to know if there's one or two of them or hundreds or thousands of them. And that's kind of the threat with this. You know, they've got guns. Maybe they could try and take one of them down. But maybe there's another one around the corner, or maybe there's a group of them, and maybe they're going to get ambushed.
Maybe they're like a cluster.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
they all pop
A
out at
nest,
once.
as it were.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun to work on and see these things move around and how horrific they can be. They're different to us. They perceive the world in a different way. Getting little snippets of it in the darkness, and did I see that? Was it something that moved? Or is it actually just one of the other soldiers that's stuck in the catacomb?
Who's there?
We like to try and misdirect people on things, you know, that did you see something, did you not? And that's a great thing within horror, that you think you're going to be scared right now, and we're not going to scare you now. We'll scare you in a minute when
It's
you're not
coming.
expecting it.
It's always coming.
Yeah, always.
So should we expect a huge amount of peril in the game?
Definitely.
Play this in?
We love to do it. You know, it's fun for us to work on. It's horrific.
Probably
It's-
not.
we know that our fans love it as well. So yeah, there's at least 60.
But if it's in
But like I said,
Pass,
the intrigue of trying to make it through with everybody, like as a gamer, it intrigues me.
Depending on how
Sure.
you play it,
Like,
like, getting ripped and shredded and torn.
I have to get extremely elevated.
Yeah, grind is real today.
Flying as well, all kinds of stuff. And it's not just the deaths; it's the gore.
I mean, it could be a really great
lots of blood.
like
Wicked.
stream
That sounds absolutely
with letting
terrifying.
people help make the decisions.
Oh yeah, I can do that with we can do that one Until Dawn.
What differences have you made or changes have you made to the gameplay and mechanics for House of Ashes?
We're always evolving the Dark Pictures. We listen to a lot of the feedback from our fans and also our team, what they want to do, how they want to push things forward. So we tried some stuff in Little Hope with more camera control, 360 cameras at certain parts, and we really leaned on that again, and it really works well. In House of Ashes, lots of the game is set underground, and so these sort of corridors, which are really tight and oppressive.
Creepy.
Yeah, indeed. So we've had to
You're right,
because
Dr. Who. I mean,
take
this
away
is
the fixed cameras.
this
and that
Dark
takes away
Pictures
some
anthology
scenes
is
for horror,
supposed to be
but we've
basically
had to
that.
learn new
It's
tricks to
essentially
scare
a
people
playable
and ramp up the tension
horror
and,
movie slash thriller.
The chance for jump
It's
scares,
set
which you know some
and
people
this is
love.
the third
We've
one
also got a new torch
in this
mechanic,
particular
so
series.
it's military themed, so these guys are going to be walking around with weapons, with torches mounted on them. We love the lighting that we do, this sort of really inky black darkness that we have, and sort of the contrast to the bright areas. And so you're going to need to lean on that torch to allow you to see where you're going, what the threat is, and that kind of stuff. We've also done things like added difficulty settings to this game. So in Little Hope we added QTE warning icons as an example, and we've got some really good positive feedback about that, but also some people want to turn that off. We want to allow you to play the game in your way. So with our accessibility settings and difficulty settings, if you want to have
It's
a more
always
casual
good to
experience, you
hear
can change
developers
those
talking
settings.
about what they're doing.
Still,
for
most of your characters
accessibility.
are going to end up dead, but you know,
Making it
that's
more
what
inclusive
but
for
that's
more
what we come
people.
here for. That's
Yeah.
okay, we can deal with it.
Somebody was thinking
So
of
I've
sin
gotta
with the
ask,
easy mode scary
how's it
joint.
working with
Make it happen.
So
I was gonna say, take out all the scariness, just
research
put in teddy
she
bears
understood
and
her when
flowers.
she was so refreshing. She
Yeah,
really
I know that if I'm not
And
going to be
Rachel is a
purchasing
flawed
this,
character, so she
Has-
brought that
has,
through so fantastically.
this is
Well,
not
that's
the target
potential.
demographic.
Those dollars. So
Looking for Joey.
you got to make this stuff as inclusive as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And go out there arachnophobia mode and
We
ground
want
it.
you to connect to these characters. and
That joint's
understand
still-
these
that
things
joint's
and
disgusting.
because they're real to
Big
us.
old
We're gonna see
blob.
Elden
A long
Ring.
time designing them, and I don't mind if you hate any one individual character because
I won't be
People
surprised.
die, maybe.
in real life. But
I
maybe
only
you'll
play
like
this in
them when you
VR.
see the journey.
That would be the way to play
You're
this.
like,
Have
once
it.
they're dead, and you feel
Yeah,
bad.
and you feel bad about
You
it.
can
We
have
also
Good
want
luck.
you to save
Good luck.
them.
Nah,
We want
I'm
you to
good.
try and save them. You know, we know that some people want to get everyone killed straight away, and that's fine. That's their
That's cool.
playthrough. That's what
Yeah.
they want to do. But you know, can you get everyone out alive and save as many as you can?
There's a lot of replayability there.
Indeed,
Goes on
yeah.
forever. I like
Yeah.
that. So, last question. Favorite scene?
Favorite scenes. So Salim, our Iraqi soldier, and Jason Kolchak, one of the Marines that's there. There's a way that can play out, and a sort of contest between them, and you can make it go in a number of different ways.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
It's really emotional. Seeing them film it, I was lucky enough to be there, and then seeing that come through in game, I think we've got something there. I think that's gold. And then, of course, I love scaring people, so I love the jump scares. I love the moments of tension that we bring. We can't hold you in that moment, so we've got some fantastic jokes in there as well to allow you to relax for a moment before we scare you again.
To take your mind off
Yeah.
the imminent threat. I like that. Dan, thank you so much. This has been really cool to talk about, and I'm sure, you know, I'm excited and terrified in equal part, and everyone else is just excited, I'm sure.
And it's been a real pleasure to speak to you, and I can't wait to get it into people's hands.
It's going to happen.
right before Halloween. That's like perfect drop time for sure.
It is.
All right.
Before we dive in the House of Ashes, see how scared you got. Of course, we want to thank Razer for being one
The
of the
homie
E3
Greg Miller.
2021 sponsors. Of course, giving us these tired old blades.
This is almost weird, however.
Nobody cares about, but this blade
They're doing their
team,
present.
RTX 3080, built right in. Of course, the Razer.
I'm
chair.
taking that.
Thank you so much. No, I'm taking that. Okay, well,
We've done it before.
you know what? I'll take the hand-me-down. I'll be little brother. I'll take the outdated. Nobody wants these anymore, right? Doesn't work. Golden Boy, you just saw the Dark Pictures anthology.
Yeah.
Your first glimpse of it. We have some reactions from you.
Oh, you do?
They were recording you. They said you were a little scared, not terrified.
Not terrified, thankfully, because it was just a normal
Golden
trailer,
Boy,
which
one of
and there's my
famous shoutcasters of all time.
Oh yeah, no, you don't like that. You don't
don't like that.
No,
not a fan of that one either. Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, I think that was one of the jump scares in the trailer. I got the willies there at the end too.
Yeah.
I am not crazy about horror. I was actually talking to
You're like, I'm leaving.
it really takes a very twisted mind to come up with these things. But it is impressive though.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
You heard there in the interview, Dan saying like, "Oh yeah, I love the jump scares. I live for the jump scares." It's
60 different death animations is what that was something he wanted to make sure, because of course this is a choose your own adventure. If you've never played a Dark Picture anthology, right? You are moving characters in a third person. You jump around. It's like you're watching a movie. You make choices. Those choices leads to different permutations, different setups, different settings, which leads to different deaths or no deaths if you're really, really good. But that's the idea, right? Is that you're playing in your own horror movie is developing, and then gives you the reason to replay it.
Yeah. Also, a pleasant surprise for me was that Ashley Tisdale is in it. I didn't know that going into it, which I was like, wow, this is definitely an upgrade from High School Musical. This is definitely a quick turnaround. Big different genre. But yeah, and I think also because we had the VO panel yesterday, which was great.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show, right? Like the impact that video games are having. Hollywood stars coming in, lending their voice, lending their face, their acting, their skills to this, really bringing these characters to life is just going to add even more layers to this horror.
But that's a huge thing. If you've never played before, performance capture is a huge deal for Supermassive. They go through, they use the facial animation. They want you to feel like you're watching a movie. So we will see soon enough how the Dark Pictures anthology pans out this time around with House of Ashes. But for now, let's toss it over to the one, the only,
Jackie Jing?
Brothers in arms, or each man for himself. Survival depends on choice. Will you find the path to save everyone, or be lost in the darkness? I'm sorry, I'm just a little excited about this title. Dan, I saw you taking lots of notes.
Squad, they got everybody. They got Dan, Damon Hatfield. They got the squad.
I'm here for this. So.
Well, I'm a big old history nerd, so I was super stoked to hear more about the setting. It's really tying in a lot of ancient lore about the Akkadian Empire. You have Naram Sin, this guy who declared himself like the god king of the Akkadian Empire and desecrated this temple, and now it's coming back to haunt us in modern day. It's
I'm
also
starting to think the whole Bandai Namco thing is only going to be on this one game.
If it is,
rich, sort of backdrop.
This is the worst. Joe.
Nah, the PC part was. This king of wind demons who's tormenting all of these soldiers, and I'm really excited to see what they can do.
How long is the job supposed to take?
Taking notes. I did some research.
They didn't say. They just
I can't wait
said.
to experience all 60 death animations.
You know what's funny? When I look at the title of what they put on E3 now for this, it specifically says, "Join us for Bandai Namco presents House of Ashes starting at 2:25."
Because he understands.
Now that the title only specifically says,
do you think that something happened? That something got pulled? Like it was like they changed it?
The King of Wind Demons is. What was it?
It seems like a lot.
Oh my goodness.
Just be focused on this
game.
Yes.
Something's off about that.
Avi, you were obviously a big fan of the server. Like Dan, just like I could go on. Exactly. I was like, okay. But Avi, we've been talking about Resident Evil Village like at length. We both like horror survival, but also like when someone's playing with us. And I thought that it's great that it's co-op, so we can be scared together.
I mean, Bandai Namco showed a lot of stuff over the course
Dan
of
and
E3.
watching him play, because that's exactly
Again, the
what I
idea
did
that they
with
would have their
Until Dawn, because
own presentation
cool, I can't
at this
hold a
point
controller and try to guide these teenagers to safety. I'm going to step on a branch and individually
like, okay,
kill them all.
you got to be showing something
Dan
new.
was going into like the history of all of it, and I'm going as like, oh, 2003. That's a little.
But you got to be doing
it.
it
I didn't pass on
insanely
my
deep
history
dive.
classes, but I hope that Pazuzu doesn't pop up anywhere in a textbook. But something that was really interesting for me when we were going through the trailers and going through that little dev talk is that they showed us Pazuzu. They showed us the monster. They showed us what it looks like inside the cave. So there's part of me wondering, like, usually with horror games, you don't show people the scary right away. So I'm wondering if maybe there's like hidden layer of
terrible.
something else that they're not showing us yet. That's
I
going
do
to push
again.
so hard,
I
thinking
like
that they're
the
going to
I like the
I did
theme,
my research. I know everything.
I know how to deal with a Pazuzu. This is easy.
the time frame.
You two would fall into the depths together, and then I would somehow be stuck with Michael, and he'd be like talking about JRPGs, and I'd be like, oh my goodness, we're in a world of her right now.
If I make a deal with the devil, I can turn into a very attractive protagonist, and then I could probably possess Pazuzu if I do negotiations like you can in SMT5. No, anyway, like one thing I want to say about this one is the free cam controls. That's different for Supermassive, so I'm gonna wonder how that works because I feel like they're very in control of camera angles and what you see before you make choices. I'm sure there's like transition phases where you actually make your choices and all other stuff. It's just something new from them, so I just want to see how that plays out, especially when I'm with a bunch of other people trying to get very skilled.
And Damon, I know you're all about retro
Does it
games,
seem
but
to
I
you
also know
all
you
like
love a
this
good
will have
story.
like
I know for me, I felt like this had a
person
lot of
shooter
heart. There
mechanics?
was
Like you
dialogue
might
that
actually
we saw
be
that
able
really
to
hit me
shoot
core.
something in this joint?
It almost seems like it,
I love
but
horror movies. I love horror games.
I don't know.
I'm kind of a gore hound. I love blood
That
and
just
guts, and I
be
love kill gags.
for show, and then
I'm
you
looking
just
forward
come
to
in
see
with
all the
the
inventive
flashlights, you
and
start
clever
walking
ways
through, and then
that
it'll just hit the
Pazuzu's gonna kill our
cutscene, start doing the shooting or whatever.
I just like saying
Yeah.
Pazuzu, even though it's absolutely horrifying.
Pazuzu.
Anyways, Goms, I can't talk. Games have changed and evolved so
Goms
much over
have
the
changed,
years,
haven't
and
they?
with those changes, so has the coverage of our favorite games. Outlets like PC Gamer, IGN, Polygon, and GameSpot have all led the way in gaming coverage, and for the first time ever, we've assembled the editors-in-chief of all those organizations and our voices of E3 series.
Yeah, dog. I don't know what this is.
I really think Bandai Namco
Yeah.
just.
And I think that's it, dog. Like I think that's all they did was just that.
Hello, welcome back to E3 2021.
That might be
That's
the
kind of what I'm
worst.
feeling. Yeah.
Biz, which is one of the world's biggest
Hey, Joe,
Well,
business
close this
websites.
dude out, man.
And joining
Dog,
me
I
today
guess this
to
is
talk
how we
about
close
E3 and
out
future games
E3.
I mean, technically, the Play for All showcase is what's happening, and then they do the awards. Like there's an E3
Yeah.
award show, which is something that they have not ever actually done. They usually have, because E3 is usually in person. Usually, what happens is they have editors and so forth. They come out early. They do a pre-E3 show. Representatives from different media outlets and so forth go out, and they actually get to see stuff early and play games early and all that kind of stuff. They actually know what's going to be at E3, and that's where you see like the prizes they give early. You know what I mean? Like the best of E3 stuff and all that. So it looks like because they didn't, or I guess they couldn't do that this year, they just decided to actually do a show. Now I don't know what the criteria is or how they're deciding what what's what or how anything gets whatever it gets. But I'm gonna tell you what: if Xbox doesn't win show of the whole show, if they don't have show of the show,
I got major issues.
we got some haters in our midst.
Oh god, yo, I'm on Twitter right now. These people on Twitter are frying Bandai Namco right now,
and they should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm looking at this joint from Jeff Grubb. Bandai Namco focusing on one game, and seems like Elden Ring won't really be at E3. Yikes. Yikes. That's a terrible thing to have happen to your game. Like you're supposed to be getting some spotlight or whatever, and the game is already overshadowed by other games that are the bigger games that people want. And like that this is a game that's not even coming out. Right? People just want more. They want to hear more. They want to know more. And the publisher who is putting it out says, you know what we're going to do? We're going to focus on you guys because that's what we're selling this year. That's what's coming out is here, whatever. And people are just like, yeah, nah, but that other joint, that's at least a year away.
That's what E3 is for, to show off what you got coming the rest of the year and beyond. Right. Not to sit here and focus on one time. You could do that in a Twitch video later down the line before it drops on a couple months or something like that. You don't have to use E3 to focus on just that one game. Not a knock against the game. It's just this is not the time and place for it. It's just
nope. Nope. This isn't it. This isn't what to do or how to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And again, that's not a knock against them. Realistically, part of the problem, I think, is just the way that this is all set up. You know, this is the kind of thing where the game gets shown at somebody's conference, and then, you know, there's a follow-up that's this piece. You know what I'm saying? There's a, you know what I mean? Like, it's intro, and people get to see it or whatever. And then there's a follow-up that is a developer deep dive or, you know, something along those lines. I don't think it's terrible. I mean, it's a great thing to be at E3, quote unquote, and on the E3 stage put on by them. But I don't think this is how you close the show.
No.
So to speak. But when all your big hitters are really already doing their own thing, like Nintendo's doing a Treehouse, that doesn't really necessarily have anything to you know what I mean, technically do with E3. I mean, they're doing it during the time frame or whatever, but they could just do that whenever they want, realistically, right?
True.
So you know, it's a little tricky, man. I am underwhelmed.
That was, I don't even know if underwhelmed is the word to even use. Like, that was just,
I didn't even get a chance to start to get excited. Like,
for what?
Right.
For what? I mean, especially for you. The only thing they show is a scary joint.
Sin was out of the jump.
Exactly.
Sin would have went to the bathroom, came back, and been like,
yeah,
it's over.
Yeah. More like y'all still sitting here talking about this?
Not even just whelmed. Like, whelmed at least would have had something. No.
Flat line, right? You down here. I feel you. Yeah, I think this is I think that was a bad idea.
Very bad.
But there's not enough there's not enough even for the people who are hosting E3 to say about it. You know what I mean? Like
that's why they didn't have their own people do it. They just say, "Hey guys, here's a little extraness of a trailer. Go ahead and you can talk about the trailer."
Yeah. All right. Well, look, there's no point in beating this horse. It's dead. So
very dead.
We'll be back in
couple hours.
3 hours. 8:30 for Loading Snacks Weekly. Tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend again. We're going live again in a little bit. We'll see y'all there. Looking forward to it. We have better things than this to talk about.
Pretty much.
And we can expound on for a longer period of time as well, too.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. All right, y'all. We're out. Appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all in a little bit. Toodles and loose.